Hello, my name is Roberto Arza. I'm a student attorney with the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic at the University of Michigan Law School. Wanted to thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation about who we are at the clinic and what we can do for your organization and your clients. In terms of the organization of the presentation, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about who we are at the clinic, how we work, what we can do for your organization, what we can do for your clients, and importantly, what we can't do in some of the typical scenarios that we handle at the clinic on a day-to-day basis. At the clinic, we're a student clinic at the University of Michigan Law School. We're grant funded by the National Taxpayer Advocate Service. And we largely provide two buckets of services. One is tax literacy education, and the other is representation for tax controversy for low-income taxpayers. The way the clinic operates is that student attorneys like myself are first chair, but we're closely supervised by a barred attorney. She supervises all of our work. She's heavily involved, but the student attorneys are doing the work and interacting with the clients on a day-to-day basis. One of the things that's a little bit unique to our clinic is because it is a student-run clinic, the clinic representation works on the academic schedule. So we have a fall semester, a winter semester, and a summer semester with breaks in between. One of the biggest benefits of our clinic is that it's no cost to clients because of the grant funding. The flip side of that is that the grant requirements are relatively strict. So the income requirements are no more than 250% of the federal poverty level for that year. And there can be no more than $50,000 in controversy. So if the client has more than $50,000 in controversy with the IRS, it's outside the scope of our clinic, or if they make more than 250% of the federal poverty level in income, and that's scaled up for the size of their household. If there's any questions about whether a client can be represented by the clinic, please feel free to call us. There's contact information on this slide at 734-936-3535, or there will be more contact information at the end of the presentation. Like I mentioned, one bucket of services that we provide are outreach and educational opportunities, and these are things that we can do for your organization. So we're able to come and give presentations about things including basic tax literacy, deductions, credits, income, things that may be not very well known to clients and regular people. There's also things that we talk about that have to do with avoiding scammers, fraudulent preparers, and other things that are just on the periphery of actual tax work. And we also can do other types of information depending on what's necessary and most helpful for your organization and your clients. The types of work that we do for clients individually are full representation. So if there's a controversy with the IRS, we can represent them in front of the IRS specifically, negotiate with the IRS directly, and then it can include their collections office, their lawyers, or any branch of the IRS that is in controversy with a client. If we can't figure out how to work with the IRS to get the issue resolved, we often file petitions in tax court and can work with a full representation all the way through the tax court to try and get the issue resolved. We are largely focused on federal tax issues, working with the IRS. If there's Michigan Treasury issues that are ancillary to the federal tax matter, so it's related to the same federal tax problem, we are able to take that on, but we generally do not take Michigan-specific matters. That leads into the scope of things we generally can't do. So anything that falls outside of the grant scope, which is usually federal issues, we don't file tax returns. We can refer clients to certain organizations, but they're not private tax preparers. So we usually work with VITAs at United Way of Washtenaw County and the Accounting Aid Society of Detroit, but we don't refer to private tax preparers. We don't do anything with property taxes. We don't do anything with corporate tax issues, and that can be actual corporations or any businesses with inventory and employees that's outside the scope of our clinic. Typical things that we work on are earned income and child tax credit issues. A lot of times these come up and somebody has filed for them and either not provided proper documentation, or they get a letter from the IRS saying that they don't qualify. This is something that we work on very often to make sure that documents are submitted correctly and that everything is in order, so that people who are able to take the earned income tax credit and the child tax credit, which are meaningful tax benefits, are able to take them. A lot of times there or issues where returns incorrectly state earned income instead of unearned income, like social security disability benefits, and that can mess with housing and other benefits that your clients might face. And we can usually help clean up some of those returns. Even though we don't generally file returns, we can help work with the IRS to make sure that things are corrected. Oftentimes, strange situations that happen very rarely in people's lives, like taking 401k distributions, having issues with self-employment or gambling income, can throw off tax returns and can cause a lot of problems. We can also help correct the record with the IRS around those issues so that everything is squared away and any deficiencies, penalties, and interest are abated or taken care of or are put on a payment plan. Oftentimes we end up establishing that clients can't afford to pay, and we can help work with the IRS to either get them on a payment plan or get them on a situation where they're not having to actually pay the debt back. And instead, they are put on what's called currently not collectible status until their situation improves, so they don't have the pressure of the IRS on them while they're trying to sort out their affairs. Oftentimes, when there are spouse issues, so it can be an innocent spouse issue or an injured spouse issue, where a spouse is attached to a tax liability that they shouldn't be responsible for, we can help do the proper filings with the IRS to make sure that somebody who should not share a tax liability with the spouse does not end up being on the hook for it. That's kind of an overview of what we do. If there's any questions about how we can help you or anything was unclear, please feel free to call us at that number on the previous slide. We can talk through any situation beforehand and hopefully work with your organization and their clients to help make sure that everybody's tax situation is well taken care of. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good rest of the day.